Host committees take on FIFA in public. Will the NWSL flip to a European schedule? And we check out the wild plans for stadiums out in Las Vegas. That and much more on Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Good morning and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kick Around, the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. How you feeling? How you doing? My name's Robert Kerr, local soccer guy. And to my side, my partner in this, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. How you feeling?
I'm good. Happy Monday to everybody. As you can tell, got a little chilly here in Northern Virginia, so I got my regular hoodie on. I should be wearing my Morning Kick Around hooded sweatshirt. I don't know why I didn't put that on this morning. My apologies to all of our ultras who are probably wondering where my where my gear is. I think we've got Mr. Bob his hoodless sweatshirt. I believe that arrived. We had an issue with getting him his hooded sweatshirt. I believe that has gone out to Albuquerque. So shout out to Mr. Bob who's here this morning. I see so many of the ultras are posting here on the Monday. I know it's hard to get up on a Monday. You know, the weather might be nicer where you are, which makes it more, you don't want to sit in front of a computer, but we appreciate you all. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, we sure do indeed. In the last 3 days, I've worn both flip-flops and shorts, and then yesterday it snowed. So it's been quite the evolution over the last couple of days, but that means it's spring, right? And that means we're one step closer to the summer and the World Cup. Everyone's excited about the World Cup.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah, we're all super jazzed. That's what they say, right? We're jazzed for the World Cup, Rob. We're so excited it's coming to America. We're jacking up our ticket prices on our trains and our buses to celebrate. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we've got a whole lot of controversy to discuss on the show. Had to get a bit of a timeline back and forth between some planning folks in local cities here in the United States versus FIFA. We're also going to talk about NWSL potentially flipping their calendar to match up with MLS and European counterparts, and then a whole lot more. We really had to narrow it down to get into our regular format, but excited to do so and take off some kind of weighty conversations here today.
I have some breaking news, Rob. I know we did not this. This is not on the rundown for the show, which has a bunch of good stories here, but we celebrate the community. We want to shout out the ultras, especially those of you who have already pre-ordered your first ever Morning Kick Around jersey. And I'm going to do this on the fly, so my apologies if this looks a little rough, but we are going to bring in what I am told from our kit maker, Mark Jenkinson, at what's the name of the company right now, Rob? Just blanked up.
Put it on the screen. You're making me forget, too.
Oh, no.
Bastion.
Our guy, Mark Jenkinson at Bastion, has sent me some wonderful image. This is the actual, this isn't a mock-up. This is the actual kit. Look at that. Look at it, Rob.
The first ever Morning Kick Around kit, the 2026 edition in the flesh, or at least the photograph of the shirt in the flesh. Looks beautiful. Looks every bit as I imagined it.
Yeah, it's exactly what we mocked up, right? Look at the detail on this. Morning Kick Around, the Bastion logo, that MK Ultra logo that we put together especially for this on the back. Not only do you get Dot the Map. Now, I will point out that Rob made an executive decision. He did not want the curved nameplate. He wanted the straight across the back nameplate. And I was watching Manchester City Arsenal this weekend, Rob, and lots of curved nameplates over there. They like a curve on the nameplate. You were like, no, we do it straight. So there it is. There's the nameplate that says Dot the Map. One day we'll get customized jerseys, but for now, Dot the Map. You get the little MKU Ultra MKU logo there at the bottom, a la pretty much every league in the world puts their logo and their numbers like that. What else, Rob? What else is sticking out to you here?
Well, I see the little first edition nugget on there. I don't know if anyone wants that spoiled for them. I don't know if people's eyes are shrewd enough to see the first.
Right?
I think it's supposed to be a surprise when it arrives in the mail.
We're not telling you where it is in this image. This is like a Where's Waldo situation. Where is the special edition or the special tag for the first edition of their shirt? Anyway, those are apparently ready to ship. So we're going to be getting our hands on those and shipping those out to you. It is a premium honeycomb knit material, which
Hey.
that was also a choice that Rob advocated for that I was very much on board with. So shout out to our guy Mark Jenkinson and Bastian for getting our jerseys together. You can still buy one. You may not get the special little first edition tag, but you can still buy one over at the Fourth Wall page. We have an issue with our Fourth Wall page on our YouTube channel, but trust me, all you gotta do is go type in, let me do it right now, morning dash kick around dash shop .fourthwall.com, and you will be able to see it's the very first product, the very first item there, Dot the Map 2026 Morning Kick Around Ultra Kit. If we can get a couple more orders, we can get those out to Mark, and he will be shipping those our way.
Yeah, you're talking about, I think Armando's comment is referencing the nameplates and putting them straight rather than curved. I was thinking, I was going to say, can we leave that comment up for the rest of the show just to, hype me up there? Hey, we got widescreen Rob here.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. I was trying to take the jersey off. You were so right. It was your own show for a minute. Just you for a minute, Rob.
Yeah, you can tell producer Jenny not with us today. She's working an early baseball game because I think it's Patriots Day out in Boston, if I'm not
Yeah, do you know
mistaken.
about Patriots Day? Do you know about Patriots Day, Rob? Are you aware of Patriots Day?
I'm aware of Patriots Day, but for dark reasons.
Oh, I don't want to know. Is this what? Okay, I don't know. That sounds weird.
Do you remember what's the most famous Boston Marathon?
Oh,
day?
Right. Okay. Boston Marathon. It's also Boston Marathon Day. And of course, yes, you remember because of the bombing. Yes. Okay. My apologies. You're right. That is a major thing that yes. I just remember being in college in Boston. Patriots Day was a day off of school, Boston Marathon. You could put your couch out front and watch them run by if you lived on the right street. And you were probably drunk by about 11:30 in the morning. So
I do love that concept. I love municipal pride, things that make location to location unique, and the fact that they have their own holiday that's just their thing, and the fact that everyone goes all out, full commitment to the municipal event. I really like you said, taking off school because of your city's event. I think that's very cool, and they pack it full of events. A very unique thing. So
we should have a soccer game on Patriots Day, man. All right, anyway, let's get into this. We got lots of news to cover.
All right, let's get into Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Let's go. Welcome on in, Morning Kick Around, kicking off the show with an update on the USL Players Association protests with the USL Championship. They have stated very publicly they're teetering on the edge of a strike, but we're 2 months into the season, and we've seen a variety of in-game and pre-game protests and a little bit of a tweak on it this week. What have the players done in solidarity this week, Jason?
Yeah, let's watch this little video here. This is give you an idea of what's going on.
And to start the game, we will have a brief delay.
You said this one was in Charleston, right? But this happened across the league.
I believe this is Charleston. The Battery and Tampa Bay Rowdies getting together, and you can see the Charleston fans there.
So I think that picture says it all. There's some people that understand, but some people, I don't know if they were.
Yeah, and you heard that's Tyler Terrence. I work with him on the radio, so sometimes really good broadcaster of soccer in America. He knows what he's doing, and I'm sure that if you ask Tyler how he feels about the labor negotiations, he would have an opinion. But as somebody working on behalf of USL covering that game or broadcasting that game, he's been instructed we will have a delay. And that's how they're presenting it. So you have a couple things at work here. You have the Players Association clearly deciding, Rob, that they need to juice this thing a little bit, right? They got to escalate just a touch. And I think we even conceived of something like this. Did we not? We might have even said a couple weeks back, hey, if you're going to do a protest, do something that looks different than guys just standing at their positions, not moving for a minute. Now we had the circle, which there was not arms. We were not arm in arm for the circle. We were just standing around the center circle.
Yeah.
So this is now that solidarity has been amplified by the, hey, we're all here. Now, you made a good point. What did you say this looks like? Sometimes, like it might look like to people?
I think that for those who don't understand or are up on the situation with the Players Association. I think that could be confused for maybe lining up for the anthem or something else. People have seen that sort of player formation at the beginning of a game before, maybe a little bit confused because it's happening after the whistle. But we've talked about it earlier, something that visually looks completely different from the usual course of events at the beginning of a game might be more impactful. Like if they're not going to, go 10 out of 10, hit the red alert button and actually call the strike, I thought something visually just different. So maybe if the players maybe sat down, we were joking about crisscross applesauce, but if you saw a still photo of players sitting and like literally being inactive, that might spark the imagination a little bit more of like, wow, this is completely different. This isn't some sort of formation here like that anthem or some sort of a moment of silence. It's nothing like that.
You got to wonder if maybe the players are leaving some rounds in the chamber, so to speak. If they're maybe kind of saving some stuff, right? You don't want to give away, like you don't know how long this is going to go. You don't want to kind of shoot your shot initially, make a big statement, and then have it kind of diminish. You want to kind of you want to raise the level, I suppose. Again, you make a good point. I don't know. Look, it seems as though the players, generally speaking, have the support of the fans of the USL. I don't know if there's polling data out there. I don't think we've got YouGov asking people, do you support the players in the USL versus USLPA labor negotiations?
So far, the only negativity towards the players is I've seen a couple online accounts taking pot shots at attendance. Like, how can the players ask for more when this is the attendance? But largely, I'd say 98% of everything I've seen from multiple different stakeholder positions, everyone's been pretty supportive.
Yeah, I mean, and you don't say like, oh, that company doesn't have to give decent working conditions to the factory workers because they're not selling that much stuff, right? Like you have to. Now, look, again, I know we're not talking about the salt mines here, right? We're not talking about dangerous factory conditions. We're talking about playing soccer games. But again, this is where you have to match up what your ambition and what your statements are about who you want to be and what you provide the players in terms of being professional athletes at a level that reflects well on you, right? These two things have to go together. You can't say we're a top level professional soccer league and then serve your players this food. What you're seeing on screen is a post from the USLPA. Now, we've highlighted the USLPA's social media game recently in regards to that outdoor gym that sparked a bit of controversy last week because there was some discussion of how old was that picture? Was that a fair reflection of what that team was providing, or are there other options? Things of that nature. And again, I think you're going to see it through the lens of which side in general you support. Right. And then when I say side, I don't mean like, oh, I'm on the management side. I just mean like if you respect what some of these clubs are trying to do to build up their organizations and be professional and provide a soccer team for their local communities, then you may be a little bit more lenient towards the management, towards the owners of these clubs who are often operating in the red when it comes to things like the gym situation in New Mexico. And we have this. I don't know. Is that some sort of prepackaged sandwich in cellophane? I guess we got a bag of Doritos, a Three Musketeers. Man,
that's a 3-course meal.
I would have killed for this meal when I was 23 years old. Had no money. Like that was a great lunch for me. Like, wow. But
that could even be a burger hidden in that saran wrap.
I don't think it's a burger. I think I see what looks to be some maybe overly green lettuce. That might be some overly green. It's hard to know.
But they did date it, which is interesting.
They did date it, right? What did they say? This
2025.
was 2025. So last year, right? Again, we had an issue with an older photo being used. If this was indeed a team's meal given to a player in 2025, then I don't have a problem with the USLPA using this. We also have them posting shots of the players in a couple of other places doing the solidarity move. Like you said, it does kind of look like they're standing there for the anthem in a freeze frame situation, in a still shot, without the audio, without the context of the game, without the clock ticking. It's hard to really take power from this, but they're doing what they can.
Yeah, indeed. But you agree with me that, players maybe sitting, crisscross applesauce like this would kind of make it look more unusual. I mean, I think that they got to swirl it up if they're not going to, go to level 10 and actually pull the trigger on the strike, then I think that some more imagery and like have some sort of a, the photo speaks 1,000 words sort of picture. Is there a picture that encapsulates the USL Players Association message? I'm not quite sure if they
by
have
the way,
one universally
let's again be clear about this. The players are clearly not in a position where they feel like they have more leverage than this. Now, I mean, what I mean is they're obviously asking for things. They're still negotiating. Has there been an update in weeks over whether they've made any progress at all? Remember, they kicked the federal mediator out of the room. So that's not a thing that's working in the favor of moving towards a resolution and agreement. We haven't had any updates on where they are on the individual things that the players are asking for, the league is pushing back on. And so we continue. We just keep moving forward. More mini protests before games, more posts from USLPA, occasional pushback from people attached to management. We don't need to go back into that. And that's where we're at. If the players had the wherewithal to strike, I think they would have done it by now, Rob, because they're not getting what they want.
Yeah, it does seem that way. Like, what was it? The week before the season started, they voted on the authority. Like the players gave the leadership the authority to take a strike if they deemed fit. And
yeah, they did
right on the edge of that, and that's
a strike
bold
authorization vote was taken and approved. But again, the negotiating team can call for a strike because their players have authorized it. But they've been holding that in their pocket for weeks, and they haven't yet. And again, I'm not saying they should strike. I'm not calling on the USLPA to strike. Only they know whether they could handle something like that and whether it would ultimately benefit them in the end.
And teams have played 6 or 7 games already. We're getting into a significant percentage of the 2026 season being played without a updated CBA. That last one, the first one, expired at the end of 2025. All right, we got a lot of stories to cover still. Let's move on to our next topic here on Morning Kick Around. All right, there was a cacophony of news from host cities of World Cup games across the country over the last few days. But the one that really got the attention worldwide even is the back and forth in public between the New York, New Jersey Planning Committee and FIFA itself. And this largely stems from the transportation restrictions and gouging from New Jersey.
Yeah, it started with, up in Boston, the MTA is going to charge $80 or whatever it was to get from Boston to Foxborough. That's a 45-minute drive, obviously a bit of a train ride. That was like, oh my God, they're gouging. And now we have New Jersey entering the situation. And here is their statement, which, or this is a response from FIFA that I pulled up from an Athletic piece from late last week, because some of you may have seen this. So Mickey Sherrill, the governor of New Jersey, has spoken out about why they're charging so much for these tickets from New York, New Jersey to get there for the World Cup games. And she's saying FIFA has mandated certain requirements of transportation, but that's a cost to the system, and we don't want the taxpayer of New Jersey to have to pay for it. So we're passing it on to the people who are going to be traveling to visit our cities and visit our stadium and travel via our transit system. So in response to those comments, FIFA spokesperson told The Athletic, "We are quite surprised by the New Jersey governor's approach today on fan transportation. The original FIFA World Cup 2026 host city agreement signed in 2018 required free transportation for all fans to all matches. Recognizing the financial strain that's placed on the host cities, back in 2023, FIFA adjusted the host agreement requirements across all host cities as follows. All match ticket holders and accredited individuals shall be able to access transport, public or additionally planned transport, at cost to allow travel to stadiums on match day." Now, obviously, $150, which is the new price to get from New York to New Jersey for these games, is not at cost. Moreover, FIFA has worked for years with host cities on their transportation and mobility plans, including advocating for millions of dollars in federal funding to support host cities for transportation. FIFA's like, you have to do this. We're not going to give you the money. Go ask your government for it. Right? I mean, what are we talking about here? Like, commit. And of course, what FIFA always says is, oh, but you're going to get all this economic benefit, Rob. It's going to be a massive economic benefit to you. Right?
We were talking last week about what is the drinking game for stadium expansions and teams across the United States. We got to have a whole new one for the World Cup planning. Economic impact is definitely a buzzword on the bingo card. It's like, it's unmeasurable. It's like there's going to be people around, so surely they'll be spending money. So that's going to have an impact. But the direct thing is, a ticket that costs, was it $12 usually to go from New York to the stadium, $150. That's definitely not at cost.
No, it is absolutely not. And again, I sympathize with the elected officials of New Jersey. I sympathize with them because they are in a difficult spot. If the federal government is not going to make up the shortfall, the amount of money it costs to run the extra trains, because I remember that's what this is, right? It's not just the normal train system and we're jacking up the price. It's we have to run extra trains to get people out to the games the way that FIFA has asked us to do. And I suppose you could go back in time and say, well, don't sign the host city agreement. Don't accept games, right? Chicago
Those probably
didn't
aren't the
accept
same
games.
officials from 2018 as now.
Exactly. We live in a representative democracy. Mickey Sherrill wasn't the governor at the time. Right? The guy who owned the soccer team, can't remember his name. He was the governor at the time. He wasn't my governor, so that's why I forget his name. But, there were other people involved in signing those agreements. And these officials are looking at the numbers and going, these numbers don't work for us. Now, again, I understand that that it feels as though the burden is being put on the fan after all this stuff. Right? FIFA's jacking up prices. And again, Johnny Infantino, like in the last couple of days, again, defending the ticket price scheme from FIFA because it's a special event because of all that. Like, what we talked about over the last couple of weeks. I had an interview with a guy who does ticketing, who works with teams on ticketing on the radio last week. And he, he thinks this is ridiculous and that ultimately FIFA is going to see that this is not the way to go, but they're selling this as such a special opportunity to see a special event that they're trying to milk American soccer fans and visitors for everything they possibly can. And again, some of the details in those stories, Rob, the New Jersey pushback on this, and that comes just ahead, or that all came just ahead of news stories out that say Philadelphia isn't moving a price. They're actually going to stick with their $2.90 to ride SEPTA. Now, I think it's always a what's point A and what's point B situation. But I saw that my friend Jonathan Tannenwald at the Philadelphia Inquirer has just dropped a story on this that I intend to read as soon as we're done. So go read Jonathan. I'm sure he's got a lot of information on, how Philly is doing this when New Jersey and Boston can't seem to match them.
I didn't see if they were charging or not, but Kansas City dropped. They've got musical events going on. The Chainsmokers and all various sort of big pop acts are going to be happening at there. So there's definitely no minimizing or modesty being laid upon their plans in Kansas City. But our friend who's given us a lot of updates on the World Cup stuff, a travel football fan, he laid out the bullet points for what's going on in New York, New Jersey, and basically the forced scarcity of the tickets. But staying on topic with the New York, New Jersey thing is, the parking lot's closed. They're gouging for tickets. They're blocking out regular commuters that aren't going there for 4-hour windows on game days. They're not allowing people to walk up from various different areas. So like people are being forced into these kind of gouging situations. So there's kind of a few different kind of bad actors all happening against and with each other in a way, but all against the general fan and consumer, right? And the offsite parking that is available is there's only enough spots for half the capacity of the stadium. And apparently that the walking path between those parking and the stadium is very narrow walkways and isn't very commuter or pedestrian friendly. So like it almost seems like they're forcing attendees into having an uncomfortable experience altogether. You're talking about, the world is coming. They're going to have a great time, a party in the United States. But I mean, all these experiences are going to like undermine and degrade the overall experience. Like if you park a mile and a half away, have to walk in the baking hot sun, shoulder to shoulder with 40,000 other people, and then other people are paying $150 for a 15-minute train ride, like that all degrades like the wonder and the splendor and the fun in general to attending any of these.
Yeah. So the Philadelphia thing, just to kind of bookend this, because I see our guy for Travel Football Fan is in the chat this morning. Shout out. Philadelphia announced that fans won't have to pay public transit to ride after the game. So you have to pay the nominal, the normal fee, the normal ticket price or whatever it is, fare to get to the stadium. But once you leave the stadium, those trains will be free after that. I mean, and Matt's saying nobody wants to ride SEPTA. I'll leave your anti-SEPTA conversation to you, Matt, and everybody else out there. Look, it's obviously that, what's frustrating about this, I think, is that it's the piecemeal scattershot approach, right? It's free here, but it's $150 there, $80 here. And I mean, this just goes to show you just how incoherent FIFA's plans around all this have been, right? There's a whole city agreement. I've said they amended it, but, again, all of the burden is on the individual host cities. Now, again, you could say maybe they shouldn't have signed it, but the World Cup is coming. Everybody wants the World Cup. Everybody wants to be able to celebrate that. This is what FIFA knows they can do. They have the leverage, right? They have the advantage here because they know their product is in demand, even in the United States, where we're not necessarily a fully fleshed out soccer culture. We still have millions upon millions of soccer fans and millions of people who want to go to these games. And FIFA's like, hey, we can get away with this, right? We can make you pay to secure the stadiums for us. We can make you pay to run trains just for us. We can make you pay to shut down an entire station just for us. And we can demand that you do fan fests and all these things and not put any money of their own into it. Oh, you'll get the economic benefit. Just wait, right? That snake oil element of it is just extremely frustrating.
Yeah, clip that, why don't you, Jenny? But that was a great synopsis of just really, the brass tacks of what's being asked for. And it's kind of wild that like this time last year, a lot of people around soccer were like, next year is going to be a boom, where everything's going to accelerate because World Cup. And then now that we're here, it's like, let's see, because World Cup, we'll see what happens. But busy day, we must move on. Let's go on to our next topic here on Monday's edition of Morning Kick Around. Welcome on in, Morning Kick Around. To Las Vegas we go, and an extremely bold announcement. Starr Vegas, a development, has secured $6 billion in funding through financing structure with an outfit called In Tickets We Trust. And a bidding process for an NBA expansion team is happening in Las Vegas, and that's open right now. But in amongst the plans is like a whole campus of stadiums, including soccer, basketball, concerts, combat sports, and more. The future home of professional sports in Las Vegas, according to the chief executive, Chuck Hafley. They are trying to make an ecosystem for year-round sports in Las Vegas.
So I didn't know about this until Rob brought it to my attention. I don't know how long this has been bouncing around, but you go to the website, which is Starr with 2 R's. That extra R is for ridiculous. Starr Vegas Development, leave the loss out, starvegasdevelopment.com if you want to see this plan. Again, how many billions? $10 billion?
$6 billion.
$6 billion total. Construction capital, $6 billion. I think there will be extra.
Well, they've raised $6 billion and the project cost is $10 billion. Excuse me.
Something like that. I don't know. But if you go to the website, they have 3 major points. Now, we only care about the soccer point, so I will bring in the soccer point because the other 2 I will tell you about. Number one, soccer's getting prioritized. I'm okay. I'm excited now. 50,000 seats, soccer and concert stadium, expandable to 60,000 for festivals. The anchor of the campus, designed for MLS, and international soccer configured equally for the concerts and events that bring Las Vegas its largest audiences. The sight lines, the acoustics, the turf, the stage, the infrastructure, all built to the highest specification. I did it, Rob. Specification of. I'm sorry, you wouldn't have butchered that one, right? You
I
guys
know how
don't
to
me.
say specification.
You do know how to say specification. 50,000 is a lot, Rob. There's no 50,000 seat soccer only stadium in the country, right? Obviously, Vegas already has a football stadium. They don't need to build that.
That's a big one.
So if you build a stadium for 50,000 seats, you would have the largest soccer specific stadium in the country, right? Number one right now is, I believe, Geodis Park in Nashville, Tennessee.
Which is just a wild statement that Nashville has the biggest soccer stadium. Just, I mean, no hate, which is interesting that of all cities, that's the one.
Well, I think they did that on purpose for concerts and for other events, and for maybe internationals, but not necessarily World Cup kind of level, because that doesn't meet the standard. I think 40,000, 45,000 is the minimum for FIFA, which is why you build 50,000 in Vegas if you want to get international games, right? Now, aiming for MLS directly. Now, I don't know if this is like we build it and then MLS comes, or we're talking and we know that behind the scenes there's a possibility of getting a team to move to Vegas, or maybe MLS is already committed or at least open to the idea of a soccer team in Vegas. Now, in terms of the geography, if you've been to Vegas, how many people have been to Vegas? Raise your hand right now. If you've been to Vegas, you never been to Vegas? Oh my gosh, Rob.
I'm not a gambler. Of all the vices, gambling, not one.
No. You don't have to be a gambler to enjoy Vegas. Let me say that. But because I'm not either. I'm not a big gambler. I will sit down and play a couple of hands of blackjack or something, but that's not my move. I'm not a gambler. But Vegas is definitely worth it for the experience. If you've been to Vegas, you'll know. Okay, so see the gray area right next to Paradise, Rob? See where Paradise is?
Gray in Paradise, yes.
That's the airport, Rob. That gray spot below Paradise is the airport. Okay. And see, right next to that, it says, "Welcome to Fabulous Las Vegas" sign. You've seen that sign a million times in media, right? The Strip, as you conceive it in your head, based on what you maybe have seen via video and movies and things, is north of that sign. North. MGM Grand is a good, that's on the southern edge of the Strip, if I remember my geography correctly. But kind of the Strip is where the crossroad is, where it's the Spring Valley going to the east. That's where people think of when they think of Vegas, right?
Yeah.
Look at that red pin I dropped.
That's far.
That's where they want to build this $1 billion development with a soccer stadium. Oh, and by the way, an NBA ready arena of 25,000, expandable to 30, and a rooftop dome at the Big Vision Network Tower. I don't know what that is. Those are the three main points. I'm not saying this won't work. It's an insane idea. 10 billion, 6 billion, whatever billions to build three different venues and bring an MLS team, and that's the anchor. But again, if you're going to build something like this and you need a sports team as an anchor, it's got to be NBA, it's got to be soccer, because there's no the NFL team's already there. They got their building. I don't think baseball's coming to Vegas, at least not right now.
The Oakland A's
thing, right? You already got a hockey team. And in fact, I think the mayor is angling for a new arena that could house both the hockey team and a basketball team. But anyway, that's technically still Vegas, I guess, but it's way, way down there. So the only thing
looks like there's a highway that runs right down there, though.
Oh, that's basically, so Las Vegas Boulevard is where that pin is, and it runs due north south, right? And the sign is on Las Vegas Boulevard, runs right by the airport. MGM Grand is on Las Vegas Boulevard. It's to the right there, to the east of that interstate that runs to the heart of Vegas. So you're right, there's an interstate right there. In terms of what this might look like, there was an image attached to a story out of Las Vegas. I don't know if that will. I don't know, Rob. I don't know. That is what am I looking at here? What is this? What am I looking at here?
This is a vivid imagination, I would say. And if this would be a feat of engineering and just like a wonder of the world if this became a reality. A moving glass wall that's like 100 to 200 yards.
I would
wide.
just say, just be careful. If you need to consult with Jerry Jones, ask him about where the sun is and where your stadium is oriented, because you do not want to have a stadium sun problem. It does
I'm
look like
assuming
AI
you'd,
stuff.
you'd want
It does
that
look like
that big glass part, facing the north end, right? I think hopefully stadium builders will learn not to have that facing west.
I mean, I would presume, yeah, I would guess that in Vegas especially. Man, I don't know. Look, again, this could just be like, hey, crazy stadium idea. We don't even know. Are these people over here watching the game down in the corner? They watching the game? Where are they? Is there a hill or something? What do we got? Stands up there? What's going on?
You don't know
At
the
whole
famous hills
plaza?
of Las Vegas?
I mean, it's nuts what's going on in this picture. Okay, so let's ignore the picture. Should Vegas have an MLS team, Rob?
I won't say no to anyone getting more soccer. We are pro. What do you always say? We are pro more soccer being around, but there's already a team there, the Las Vegas Lights, playing in the USL. And I have received DMs, and I think there was some chatter in the Discord, the Morning Kick Around Discord, about some meetings with the Las Vegas Lights and this and that, and maybe they're trying to reach out and elevate them to the MLS level. So they do already have a team there, but I mean,
that team
at
is
what
that
cost?
team is rinky dink compared to anything.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
this.
that would be a huge glow up. But I also know that we've seen reports that the Vancouver mobility of that franchise situation, that I think this is a little bit of bait for that conversation as well.
Maybe. The current owner of the Las Vegas Lights is Jose Bautista, the former baseball player, Joey Bats, if you know his nickname. Great nickname. He, from what I am to understand, both sort of publicly and then obviously what maybe you hear behind the scenes, struggling a bit to figure it out in Vegas. Like, just not sure exactly where this is going for him, because turns out it's pretty tough to run a lower division soccer franchise in the United States and to also have them be competitive on the field. I'm just, nothing comes easy in American soccer. But if you're not millions upon millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of what you're spending on your total project, yeah, you're going to find yourself struggling a bit. The Lights, 5 points from 6 matches, next to last in the Western Conference of the USL Championship. That doesn't mean they can't be an MLS team one day. But I actually don't expect, maybe the current ownership of the Lights, including Jose Bautista, could be enticed to invest in a new MLS team in Vegas. And maybe even it would be like a San Diego FC situation or a St. Louis SC situation where that club has to shut down, which, again, we don't advocate for clubs shutting down ever. But that club might have to shut down in order for an MLS team to come into town and do whatever the MLS team wants to do. But they're going to need big time money. And I don't just mean because, this stadium. I mean, apparently they've already got the $6 billion. I don't know how that project relates to the ownership of a potential MLS team. But look at what San Diego FC just spent to enter Major League Soccer, $500+ million to get off the ground. Now they have an audacious academy plan and all those things, but they didn't even build their own stadium, right? They took up residence in a stadium that already existed, that the city of San Diego built. This would be something completely different. And again, I don't know, man. It's just this idea is insane. And as much as I love big time stuff, and as much as I want soccer to matter in a truly relevant way in this country, you're going to have to convince me that this can be real in ways that go more than just, oh, there's a website and there's a news item and there's a weird, wild rendering.
Yeah. For what's next, it seems like this project might be contingent on the NBA franchise going there, because from the reporting that I'm seeing, especially the local one, at least maybe that's just how they're angling the story, but it seems like the NBA awarding a franchise there would be a big catalyst for this turning from renderings into reality. And I'm curious, you were talking about, San Diego Loyal going away, and in St. Louis, when that MLS team, went away, does the IP and the branding and the cultural presence in Las Vegas, would it warrant the MLS team trying to brand themselves as the Lights, or would that just be a thing of the past?
No, and I'm sorry. Look,
I mean, the Portland Timbers were able to do that. Seattle were able to do that.
I can be very judgy about this, and I'll admit to that. I have this sense of like what I think is kind of, hokey and cheesy and what's not, and that's just my personal opinion, and I try not to foist that on other people as much as I can help it. And because of that, I want to believe that something can become normalized and accepted and embraced by a fan base over time, right? We can always point to Real Salt Lake. We can always point to Sporting Kansas City, who flipped from the Wizards, whatever. I mean, obviously, I was advocating for them to keep the Wizards at the time. They didn't, and now people have accepted the Sporting Kansas City name. They saw it as, we need to change our branding. Whereas Real Salt Lake, who entered the league in, 2005? Decided we're going to go with this name that doesn't make any sense, and nobody really understands why you have this name. And yet, if you ask RSL fans now, they would never want to change in a million years. So it can happen that sort of the less big time feel of a brand. And I don't think Las Vegas Lights feels big time. It just, that's me. And I don't want it to be Las Vegas FC either, Rob. So I don't know. There's got to be a middle ground there.
Yeah, definitely got to be something, but I like the kitschiness of, I mean, there's no other team called Lights, but at the same time, lightweight comes to mind whenever I hear that.
I mean, it just kind of like it. I understand you want to have something that identifies the team as connected to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is that. Like, Las Vegas is glitzy and lights and neon and casinos and all those things. But man, you're going to have to thread a needle there, because I just think, look at what LAFC did, right? That to me is almost a perfect way to introduce a brand, to build something that seems cool, that gets people outside of your soccer community, your direct fan base, who are going to be there from day one, interested in what you're doing. Because now, if you're from LA, just the way that the Raiders hats became, or the Raiders colors became synonymous with LA for a while, not for always good reasons, but still, like, there is something to that cultural cachet. Like, and I think Boise's finding this in their very different market. Boise's doing that. And there are some other teams that have found a way to connect to people beyond soccer. And that's what Las Vegas would want to do.
Yeah. We'll see how that all plays out and see if these wild plans turn into reality. I'm thinking of, comes to mind, the Silverdome double-decker renderings kind of come to mind a little bit when we see this. But we'll see how this all plays out in Las Vegas, and if they can make MLS happen in Sin City. And just one more point before we move on. It's interesting that this huge investment plan is coming at a time where I keep on seeing reports about less and less people going to Las Vegas and how they're struggling to fill, the casinos and all the other attractions there in the last.
I mean, I think the idea here is that Vegas itself, as a community where people live, is growing, and this is for everybody who lives in Vegas. This wouldn't be a new casino that is meant to attract visitors, tourists. This is meant to be for Vegas. And again, whether you have enough appetite in Vegas for the NHL, the NBA, Major League Soccer, and the NFL, kind of all at the same time, that's interesting. I don't know.
We shall see, but we got more stories to cover here on Monday's edition of Morning Kick Round. Let's go. Should the National Women's Soccer League change, just like Major League Soccer, to a European fall to spring calendar? Well, the calendar change, or a calendar change, is on the agenda for the NWSL board meeting set to take place at the end of April. And according to a poll, the majority of NWSL players currently oppose switching the season.
Yeah, this news came out last week, right? I think it was Friday when American soccer started kicking around this thing, because there were reports out that the NWSL was pondering this for their next board meeting. Here is the response, as per The Athletic, from the NWSLPA. Quote, the NWSLPA has engaged our board of player representatives and broader membership on the question of whether NWSL should shift from a spring to fall to a fall to spring calendar. We recognize the pros and cons of each and acknowledge that factors outside our control, including the women's international match calendar and limited control over facilities, are driving this conversation. We remain concerned, however, that the issue is being framed around the wrong question. The right question is not whether the league should flip the calendar, but whether the right conditions exist to do so responsibly. Right now, they do not. The ability to navigate weather-related disruptions depends on consistent control over facilities and operational flexibility across clubs, and that standard has not been met league-wide. Our top priorities in any scenario are protecting and promoting player health, safety, and performance. As a general matter, a majority of players polled on this question currently oppose flipping the calendar. So there it is, Rob. Black and white. And I think that is an excellent point. It's not, hey, would this be better for certain things? And, yeah, I mean, if we line up within that international match calendar, that's better for our players who play for their countries and, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to pause for a Women's World Cup, just like the men are doing, MLS is doing. But if you are not in a position where your stadiums are ready, where your facilities are ready, where the players are going to be supported in the way they need to be supported, or whatever it might be, then you can't do this, right? You can't do this. If you don't have the infrastructure, you can't flip the calendar, period.
Yeah, that quote really makes me think of that. It's almost like don't put the cart before the horse sort of a thing. Like this league is just getting its facilities in order, and teams are trying to get the standard up. And maybe the calendar switch is an eventuality that might make sense in the future. But if this point is to be followed, I do think that might be the right thing, that maybe in the future when you want to be on that market. Why did MLS change? They want to be in that player market so they can buy and sell the top players with the rest of the world. Largely, kind of weather logistics be damned to a degree. And NWSL isn't quite in that place just yet. Obviously, they're doing really well. New stadiums are going up. New teams are being added. And, big players have come back and re-signed recently. But you can't, without extreme knowledge of like which teams are renting or own their own facilities, it would be a little bit hazardous to maybe compromise your access to your facilities for the sake of transfer windows at this point.
I mean, this is a thing that's going to come up for MLS. Is do you have the stadiums that are going to be in places where it gets really cold? Do they have the heating elements in the field to allow for the game to be played properly? Now, look, I see Shrimper Steve, who is an ultra. Be like Shrimper Steve,
our latest ultra.
I believe Shrimper Steve is not based here in the United States of America. I think I saw him say that earlier. If you're going to do, traditionally the game has been played on this calendar, right? To his point, football's a winter game, always has been everywhere but America. I think the problem, obviously, is we have such a large geographic area and so many different climate zones that you cannot sort of throw a blanket over everything and say it's like this, right? It's not England. It's not Germany. It's such a vast area, and in some places it's going to be 12 degrees, and in other places it'll be 75 degrees. And how do you account for that? Like, and again, Major League Soccer is dealing with this because can you send teams on the road for the first two, or the middle 3 months of the season, excuse me, once you flip the calendar? Like how do you do that? How long is your winter break? All that stuff, right? Those things are all in this discussion. And it would be the same for the NWSL. Now, there are fewer teams and fewer games and that kind of thing. But as you said, the issue of controlling these environments, the issue of how prepared are these places to do the things necessary to make a field playable. I mean, I know it's picking and choosing, and I think there are problems either way, Rob, right? Because if you flip to the quote unquote winter calendar, it's not really a winter calendar, but you flip to a winter calendar, you're now dealing with what would seem to be more days of winter weather in certain cities, in certain markets. How do you deal with that? But obviously, if you continue on the path you're on now and you stick with the calendar you have now, we've got players passing out because it's too damn hot.
Yeah.
Right? We got issues we got to take water breaks now because it's too damn hot. So the game is changing regardless, right? We have to figure out what our appetite for this is. And obviously these are businesses. Both the NWSL and Major League Soccer have to look at this from a business perspective. How is this going to impact your ability to get fans in the stands? Maybe it improves your ability to get people to watch. I don't know. One of the major parts of this for MLS, and I imagine it would be for in NWSL as well, is end of the season, playoffs played in better conditions, you have more options. It's a better version of the game. And if you're talking about a crowded American sports landscape, you're not competing as directly with big time sports as you do now. I mean, you would be in that general area of the NBA playoffs, of the NHL playoffs, coming out of those, I guess, or right around that. And then obviously you would have baseball, who's right now in the early part of the season. Is that better than going up against college football than the NFL?
How do we convince these leagues to go Mexican style and just play in the spring and the fall? Because to me, that's probably ultimately what makes sense logistically as far as weather. But I mean, I think this also has to do with, I mean, they're talking about player safety and whatnot, and playing there and just having access to their training facilities and all that. I don't know if a lot of these teams are so established that they could necessarily switch completely over when they would need the all the facilities at their disposal. I don't know if they have those relationships quite buttoned down just yet. And the league's only 14 years old, right? And so they're still trying to ingrain the league into a cultural relevance, add, patterns and habits of people, putting traditions in their families of going to the games at a certain time of the year or knowing the final is at the certain time of the year. Is it, well, because you could reframe it this way: before people have established things, do you change the schedule, or do you wait for your league to become more established and too big to fail, and then switch over to the new calendar? It's kind of a funny position, but of the priorities that the league has, I'm not sure if the calendar switch is necessarily the top of that.
I mean, it does feel like it shouldn't be your biggest thing, but again, at the same time, and I think there's going to be a knock-on effect. And we talked about this briefly when MLS decided to flip their calendar. Now, you can give credit to the USL Super League for being the first sort of major American soccer league. And I mean, I'm obviously casting a wide net for major in this situation. But the USL Super League decided to play on this calendar, and they saw that as a positioning thing. Now, they started with that, right? So, and I know that league doesn't draw a ton of fans at the moment, but you're telling your fans, this is when our league happens. You can count on that. This league is going to happen at this time every year. Get ready for that. For Major League Soccer, for the NWSL, less so for the NWSL because its history is shorter, but it's still a thing. Obviously, for the USL Championship, for anything that is outdoor soccer that plays on the other calendar, you have conditioned fans to expect the games to happen between March and, in Major League Soccer's case, December. That's when you've told them the games are going to happen. Right now, the NWSL season is shorter, USL Championship season is shorter, USL League One season is shorter. But generally speaking, you're saying we start in the early part of the spring and we end right after it starts to get cold. We play through all that warm weather in the middle of the year. And again, this is an issue of how do you position your league, or what kind of fans are you attracting for the first 25 years, 20 years at least of Major League Soccer's existence? What was the priority, Rob? Who were they marketing themselves to? Mom and dad and little Billy and little Jane?
Youth soccer clubs.
Youth soccer
There's
clubs.
always a Billy in there.
They're going out to the games because it's warm outside. You know what? Let's go watch the fireworks, kids. There's a soccer game, but they're going to do some fireworks. I think still one of the biggest attendance numbers in MLS history is a Rapids game that happened in the football stadium because there was a fireworks display afterwards. Like, do they come for the game or do they come for the fireworks? Major League Soccer has moved away from that. Their hardcore fan base has grown. More people are willing to jump in to a passionate support of soccer, maybe aping European fans, maybe not, maybe just falling in love with the game. And so you get to this place now of, okay, you've told your fans when these games are happening. Can you flip it on them and have them come with you? Will they follow? Do we know? Does anybody really, really know?
No, I don't think so. Like I said earlier, it's like, do you want to move now and then set a new establishment of patterns and rhythms to people, or do you shake it up at this kind of? You think they're in a fragile moment, I'd say, in a way.
The NWSL,
yeah.
Well, I mean, look, significant growth, like leaps and bounds growth over the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah,
I think that's undeniable, and it's obviously indicated by attendance numbers, by stadium building, by expansion teams. Like, there is a massive appetite. I would say that they don't feel fragile to me. Obviously, this is the third attempt at a major women's outdoor league in America. It stood the test of more time than the what were we were on the WPSL and the I can't remember the other one. You know, those leagues died. We always had that fear that this one's going to die. Seems to have kind of crested the wave and looks like it's going to be okay. But yeah, are you putting yourself in danger, or do you feel solid enough that you need to do this now? Because if MLS is doing it, then kind of everybody's going to follow. I think everybody's going to follow, Rob. Eventually, everybody's going to, and I include USL in this. Like, I find it difficult to believe. And I know you wouldn't, if you're at USL and you're looking at your own business, you wouldn't want things to be dictated to you by MLS. And obviously, there's this idea of we'll be counter programming or we'll play in the summer when they're not, we'll get more attention. And I think that's a viable way to think about it. But I also think that because of the way we think about sports in America, and I think this is always an issue with the way spring American football is viewed. Like, it doesn't matter how big you try to make it. It doesn't matter the bells and the whistles. It doesn't matter what markets you pick. It does, and I don't know, by its nature, it's always going to be secondary to the NFL, but it's going to feel even worse than that. It's going to feel like a sideshow, and I think you want to avoid that. You want to be on the same rhythms as the soccer everybody else watches, and as more and more people become aware of what's happening in other parts of the world, mainly Europe. Maybe soccer fans, maybe the NWSL and Major League Soccer looking at this and going, well, we got to line up with them because all of our fans think of soccer as happening from August to May.
Yeah, I mean, I do see your point there, and in kind of being in line, you don't want to be the outsider. A lot of the time, leagues and big entities like this are copycat to a degree as to not be the one left out. But in college sports and other academics, the men's and the women's play in different seasons already. So it wouldn't be a complete departure for pro women's soccer to play at a different calendar than the men's. But it would be interesting. There's definitely significant pros and cons to both. But Apertura and the other one, I just completely forgot what the fall season was called. Help me out.
Clausura. So Apertura is the first part, Clausura is the second part.
That's
so Apertura is actually the fall, and Clausura is actually the spring.
There you go.
All right. Okay.
In my mind, it's spring and fall, but go. Thanks.
Right, but because of the way the calendar works,
fall spring.
Yeah, fall spring. If America fans love the game and there are more clubs, their clubs as much as we do in England, then they will switch, says Shrimper Steve. Steve, I want that to be the case. I want that to be I want that to be a thing. Obviously, I've given my life over to this game, right? This is what I do. This is everything for me. I've long since put aside my issues of feeling needy about the popularity of soccer in America, Rob, because we, look at, like, if you're an American soccer fan, you're not just a fan. You're not just a supporter. You're not just a guy or a woman who goes out and, attends some games, watches on television, supports your team. That's more true now than it used to be. Let me say it that way. But for a long time, and certainly when I started writing and podcasting and doing things on the internet around soccer, if you were an American soccer fan, it came with it this sense of boosterism, right? Like this thing about, like, not only do I want to watch games, I want people to like my game. I want people like my sport, please, is how American soccer fans acted for a very long time. Again, maybe that's not as true as it used to be, but I still think it's this latent thing. Like, when you see certain elements of American soccer content creators and fandom and how they behave on the internet, God damn it, they really want people to like their sport, and they're going to be very angry at you if you don't respect their liking of this sport. You know what I mean? Like, they have something to prove. And it's also interesting because the way that this kind of exhibits itself sometimes expresses itself is, not only am I an American soccer fan, I want people to like my sport, I'm an American soccer fan and I do know the game. And don't come at me as if I'm an American who doesn't understand the sport, Rob, right? Because how long have we had to deal with that problem of like, oh, you're a Yank, you don't know shit about soccer or football. You call it soccer. That's why I know you don't know anything about it, right?
You know, some English Instagram content that's actually been making me feel bad is the people going, there's videos, I can't wait to watch the World Cup in America this year. And it's like the overly American, like, now we take a commercial break from AT&T and Budweiser, and then just like going
I
through
mean,
all the
we
things
did
we're
that
going to
to
hear on Fox.
ourselves.
That's what I'm
We
saying.
did
Like that disheartens me because we're going to get really lambasted because we're taking it to 11 on the commercialization of the World Cup.
But that's what I'm saying. Like in order for us to be a mature soccer culture, we have to stop caring about that. We have to stop worrying about what they think about us.
But at the same time, it's not that. It's like, I agree with that too, but we're going to get the heat for it.
No, but who can, again, first of all, no, we do treat the game as it should be treated in most cases. Like, yes, is it
not the broadcasters necessarily?
Well, we don't, by the way, this whole thing about commercials during the game and all that, that's not our fault. We didn't ask for that. That's on FIFA. FIFA did that to us. So if we're going to look bad because of FIFA, we already look bad because of FIFA's bullshit. Sorry. That's a cursing show. Getting hotted up Jason over here. Like, yeah, that thing about like, oh, Americans don't know the game and look at how they do the game and oh, it's commercialization, all that stuff. Again, and I don't need to prove myself as a soccer fan, is my point. Like, I don't need to prove that I love the game or know the game or understand the game. But to what Shrimper Steve was saying, like, if you care about the teams as much as we do in England, then it doesn't matter when this calendar happens.
It's very true.
That is true. And I want it to not be an issue. But I also think you have to recognize and be very clear-eyed about the fact that we are still in the infancy of attaching ourselves to our soccer teams the way that we are attached to our other teams, the way that Brits are attached to their teams, the Germans are attached to their teams, and Italians you know what I'm saying? Like, we are still in this point, not only because our major outdoor men's first division league and our second division league are only one generation old.
Yeah. Like,
they're just one generation old. Not only that, some of the clubs in those leagues are less than 5 years old. Right. And this is exactly the point. So we talked about San Diego FC earlier.
Yep.
So if you met a San Diego FC fan and they said, I love San Diego FC, I live and die with San Diego, I'm so passionate about San Diego FC, it's in my blood. And you're like,
why?
He's 2 years old. What are you talking about? He's 2 years old. That's a judgment. Is it fair to that? They can't do anything about the fact that San Diego FC is only 2 years old. It's not their fault that there was no team before that. Should we accept that their passion is as deep as mine or Shrimper Steve's or anybody else who cares about a club that's 150 years old? Like, we have to allow for that. Otherwise, we don't make any progress. We don't let ourselves actually say we love the game if we aren't willing to give people a pass for being a fan of a club that's 2 years old. Right? But that's our place. We're still establishing that. Like, for example, I did an interview with Josh Atencio on the radio last week. Josh Atencio, midfielder for the Colorado Rapids, right? Traded from or sold by the Sounders to the Rapids a couple years back. And I'm talking to Josh Atencio, and Lionel Messi's coming to Denver, going to play in the NFL building in Denver because Messi's coming. And I'm not talking to Josh Atencio. And at one point I said, I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to ask you if you became a Broncos fan when you moved to Denver because that seems unfair. He's like, I am. And I was like, what? I said, yeah, my family, hardcore Broncos fans. I was born in orange and blue. And now this made my heart swell because I'm a Broncos fan, Rob. Like, it runs deep with me. My grandfather had me on his knee telling me about the Broncos, right? And obviously it meant that much to Josh Atencio as well. But we're both soccer guys. And I'm sure he loves the Seattle Sounders. And he's young enough that the Sounders go back pretty much his whole life. But I'm not that young. For me, these MLS teams are still, they just got here yesterday. They all showed up yesterday, Rob. They might as well have, because I wasn't watching them on my grandfather's knee when he was telling me that I couldn't have. So we're still doing the work of establishing our connections with our teams the way that I feel about the Broncos, the way that Josh Atencio feels about the Broncos, the way that you feel about Liverpool, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was indoctrinated by my grandfather, and there are some generational Major League Soccer fans, but that pool is pretty small, and it's only in cities that obviously had the original generation
And it's
of
just
teams.
yeah, right. There's that like, well, the guy who was a Sounders fan in 78, and now
Well, I
there's
was
a
talking about
Sounders.
there's Chicago Fire fans that have passed it down to their kids and stuff.
Well, no, but yeah, right. But that's only just happening in the same ways that my football love was passed through multiple generations, or Liverpool was passed to you through multiple generations. The Fire go back to 1998. I graduated high school in 1998, Rob.
Old.
Right? Now, obviously, if I became a fan in 98 of the Chicago Fire, I could have passed it down to my kids. Right? I could have. And that does mean something, but we're just now at the point where people who don't remember a time before MLS have kids that they can pass these things down old enough to understand. We're just now at that point. Like, this moment is that moment. But even in that case, it has to be the Fire. It has to be DC United. It has to be the Columbus Crew. It has to be the New England Revolution, because it can't be teams that were established in 2015, because they're only what, 11 years old, right? That's my point.
And one comment that I vibed with, it's a niche take, but Neo Tokyo always liked how we had nonstop soccer all year. When MLS was done, Europe was going, and then vice versa. Yeah, I mean, that was how I took in a lot of Major League Soccer over the years, was the late summer nights watching MLS through the summer. And then to bring it back around to the topic at hand, the NWSL board meeting to take place at the end of this month in April to vote on this measure, whether or not to switch to the European calendar. So we'll see if they proceed with this. Would you be surprised one way or the other?
I think they're probably going to punt on this for now. I would like to address this from Kate. The UK, for the most part, hardly ever has the kind of weather experienced in Chicago, St. Paul, Toronto, Montreal, or Foxborough. And you know why? Because there's a current, a warm water current that basically slams up against the Isles of Great Britain and makes it warmer than it would be for their latitude. But yes, that's exactly the point. Like, we are dealing with that. I think they're probably not going to do it yet, Rob. And again, I think that this public statement by the Players Association means they have done things sort of without the players' buy-in, and then sort of, massaged it after the fact. I think they did that with the rule called? The high impact player rule. They kind of did it with that. But I think this one is such a big deal. It's not just like, oh, we're going to give your teams a couple more mechanisms to sign players. Do you agree? We're going to make your job decidedly different. That's a whole other kettle of fish.
All right, guys, great show under our belts here on Monday. The rest of the week will be a little bit different. I'm out Wednesday. He's out Friday. So we might have either some solo shows or some guest hosts with us. We do have a great pair of guests lined up for Friday. So it's going to be an interesting week, an exciting week ahead of us. Be sure to check out the Morning Kickaround store. I put the link in the chat, and I'm probably going to put that on a post just to refresh and remind everyone they can still get the Morning Kickaround kit and the various merch like the mug and t-shirts, hoodless sweatshirts, and more. Do you want to bring up the kit picture? Do you have that booted up? We can see that one more time.
I got rid of it.
I
got rid of it, but I will
never get rid of the kit. But the kit looked so darn good. They got me excited. One more time.
Yeah.
This is going to be ready soon to be made.
As we have said before, a great way to support the show is to hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, like the actual show, subscribe, which those are free things. Those cost you nothing. Free. You're already on YouTube. YouTube is delivered to you. It's just a click of a button. If you want a little bit of extra stuff, if you want to be part of the Discord, you want to be part of the community, you want to learn about how to start a club in America from people that are doing that, including Forest Park Rangers. Shout out to my guy, Tom. Do that. Become an ultra. It's a couple bucks a month. I think we're over two bills, over 200 members at this point. Like to get to 5. Let's go for 500 members. Like, we do that before the World Cup starts. Is that possible? Does that seem like a lot? Anyway, let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's aim high. But also, if you want to support the show and you want to get your hands on something, well, then you go and you buy the jersey.
Da, 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 da.
There it is. That's what Rob was looking for. That's the morning kick around jersey, the inaugural edition right there. I'll dot the map. 26 for the year that we're in. I'm told that the navy, which is what the accents are, the piping, that is a little bit darker via the images than it will be in real life. So just keep that in mind. It'll be a little bit more blue. It's a little bit less blackish and more bluish if you like that. So go get your hands on it. I think we kept the price reasonable. There obviously going to be some shipping cost, but the price is pretty reasonable. You can go get the Mr. Bob mug, which Rob already held up. You can get a hooded sweatshirt or a hoodless sweatshirt. We have options for both those things. We got t-shirts as well, including the standard morning kick around shirt. I like the blue one. I think the blue one looks really nice. I don't know if you got your hands on the blue morning kick around jersey or shirt rather, not the jersey, the shirt. What else should we tell people about? Rob, what else is out there?
We're
going
really
to Rhode
excited.
Island?
We're going to Rhode Island on May 9th, and we'd love to get any messages. You can email us morningkickaround@gmail.com or send us a message if you're an ultra already. Send us a message. We want to meet up and meet as many MK ultras or just soccer fans in general in Pawtucket. That's only 3 weeks away now. It's really coming on strong, and I can't wait for that experience. That's going to be a lot of fun. And our guests on Friday, history themed, and I'm going to ask them, the guys from An American Game, I'm going to ask them about some of their stories of Pawtucket history, because we're going to get some history lessons, and then we're going to do a college game day style show from their stadium, and can't wait. I love being on location.
Yeah, look, another reason to support the show via buying something or signing up to, as an ultra, so you get something, right? Like, obviously, we could sit here and do fundraiser kind of thing. Hey, give us your money and support the show. We like you to get something for your money, which is why membership is great, and obviously why buying merch is great. But we're in this build out phase of morning kick around. Like, we're at this point of like, we need to get some money in so we can spend on the infrastructure to get the product out that we really want to do. And that includes what's happening in Rhode Island in a couple of weeks. Again, we want to make this a repeatable thing. And Rob and I are doing this is, I mean, DIY is not the right word because there's a professional element to it, but we're kind of making it up as we go along, meaning we're having to conceive of what the set looks like and what equipment we need and how to make all those pieces work. And if you know what any live event is like, even if you're not doing it for broadcast, even if it's just a microphone and a speaker, things get haywire. Things go wrong. There's lots of elements that can make it difficult. I was so proud of what happened in Albuquerque. But the reality of that is that we got a lot of support from people on the ground with some of the things that we used for that show. So we want to build up that inventory of equipment for ourselves, and that requires just a little bit of support. So if you're not an ultra yet, become an ultra. If you haven't bought a shirt yet, buy a shirt. If you haven't, if you want to support us just because you're a cool person, like our guy, Mr. Bob, who's always in here. I know he said he can't right now, and Bob, thank you very much. Somebody else should step up in Bob's place. Just that's what it is. That's what it is. Thank you very much, because again, I'm seeing all the content that's out there, Rob. Like, every day I learn about some other new podcast or some other new show, and it's great that the American soccer scene is flooded with all these things. But I do think we're pretty unique. I don't know that there's a lot of shows doing it the way we do it. And if you like it, you got to support it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Everything Jason said, I echo, and I can't wait to get out there to Pawtucket, Rhode Island, presented by Rhode Island's Blackstone Valley. Thanks to those guys for helping put it all together, and can't wait to meet everybody and get out there and even take in the game.
Matt's asking about whether or not the college game day style show is going to be Friday or Saturday. It's going to be Saturday. We're going to do that hopefully leading into the game. Again, some logistics are yet to be worked out. Actually, since we're here, and maybe this will get to somebody, if you are on the ground in Pawtucket, if you're in Rhode Island, if you know the scene, the soccer scene there, reach out to us. We could use the help. We may need some people to help kind of fix things for us, or just give us information. Like, just if you know what's going on there, reach out, hit us up at morningkickaround@gmail.com. Find us on social media, leave a comment on the YouTube. That's a way to do that. We absolutely could use that. So yeah, we're going to be doing something on Friday from Pawtucket, but they're
Probably
the
from our
actual
Airbnb or something.
Well, maybe. I mean, again, this is why we should be hopefully if we can find somebody. It's a morning situation. Although we may push that a little bit later. We'll have to see if maybe a midday show makes more sense in Pawtucket on that Friday.
We talked about morning drinking on Friday. Maybe if there's a soccer themed bar that wants to host us for Friday's show, that might be
On
good.
Friday when there's no games on from England or anywhere else. Yeah, sure. Let's
Hey, you're trying to
All right.
thwart my morning drinking? Come on.
No, I'm not trying to thwart anything. I have to do a radio program that day as well. So I'm trying to be smart and professional. Yeah. Okay. The other thing, is it going to be members only? No, it will not be a members only. That'll be for everybody. It'll be live here on the YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be a special stream, but it'll be here. It'll be on the YouTube channel. As long as you subscribe, you will get notified when that stream goes up and then when it's live. One more thing.
You're like Columbo right now.
Yeah, I know. I one more thing. Do I have a Columbo? The lady.
One more question, dear.
One more question. I need a trench coat. What does he wear? It's not a trench coat, is it?
Yeah,
Is it a trench coat?
brown tan trench coat.
All right. In addition to the Discord member community, which you get access to if you're an Ultra, in addition to what else is the Ultra? What other things are we throwing at the Ultras? There's some bonus content on the channel already. There's some things over there. I'm planning on doing some watch-alongs or some very interesting American soccer culture, and I'm going to make that available to the Ultras in addition to some of the other things I'm doing. So be on the lookout for that. Like if you want some American soccer lore and some of the wilder things that have happened, because I've been doing this long enough that there's things in my head I'm like, nobody talks about that incredible thing that happened. Why don't we do that? Remember when the Columbus scoreboard caught on fire? Remember when Mike Petke printed them out? Remember when Breck Shea took photos with a donkey? Remember when, I don't know, Mike McGee's day off was a thing? We might do some watch-alongs with those.
Yeah, Mike McGee's day off. I forgot about all that. And how about 75,000 people cheering in Denver for the opposing team scoring? How about that?
Hey, Lionel Messi is a superstar. He travels, and he delivered. That was a classic. That was such a quick trigger, left-footed Messi strike, the kind of vintage thing you want to see when you go out and support him. So
yeah, for all the lamenting people are doing, the non-Inter Miami fans and Messi fans, he is delivering more often than not. Like people, buying tickets to go to a stadium, he's doing the Messi things that they came there to see, right? He might pop up with one or two golden moments, but that's what people are paying to see, and he's providing that. So before we do one more thing, let's get out of here. Are you serious or joking?
No. I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
All right. We'll be back on Wednesday. Happy holiday to all of those who partake. We'll see you next time. Enjoy your soccer.